All right, all right, all right. Third story of the day. Third story of the day. Now, Billboard did an interesting feature. They did a collaboration with who is this? Tres Generations Tequila. My Spanish doesn't exist, so bear with me on it. And the series is about talking about different cities' anthems. This episode's about New York, and it's talking about New York anthems. New York anthems. Okay, and during this spot, it's hosted by Roxy from 106 and Park fame, and Carl Lemaire from Billboard. And Method Man and Joey Badass are part of this conversation. So what they do is they reach into a big glass and they pull out a New York anthem, and then Method Man, Joey Badass, Roxy, and Carl give their opinion on it, and then they reference where the song charted on, where the song reached on the Billboard chart. Right, so that's a nice little crossover. It's a pretty good idea, actually. You know, oh man, what if we put together an activation where we go to every city, talk about their anthems, talk about where they chart, so Billboard looks good. You know, a lot of times you think about anthems, you think about the club, so this tequila looks good. Actually, I think it's actually a pretty good idea. And then they have, like I said, Joey Badass and Method Man on here. So there's 3 anthems that they talked about that I think are really interesting, and some of the points that came out about them. Like they end up covering maybe 10. You know, there's just a 20-minute conversation almost, but 3 of these I found very compelling talking points or discussion topics, discussion points. However that's supposed to go. So let's see. All right, so here's the first one. The first one is All I Need by Method Man and Mary J. Blige.
Mary J. Blige.
I just think this is a quintessential New York love story.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, not only is it a New York song and a quintessential New York song, but it's also a quintessential love song.
When you think about female artists listening to hip hop, these are the songs that we live for. We live for, you know, the mix of both hard and soft, and being able to see that vulnerability, you know, from the fellas as well.
He love me, but he ain't no punk.
Exactly.
He love me, but he ain't no punk.
This is my favorite song in the whole entire world. Not because you're sitting here, but this is like one of my favorite songs ever.
Me too.
It's a happy marriage, I think, between hip hop and R&B.
Definitely.
And I feel like those are some of the best hip hop songs.
I agree.
The ones who captured that right there. I know that you always, you know, give your flowers and you tip your hat to LL Cool J. Like, did he have any type of influence?
Yes, and I'm glad you asked that, because I Need Love was definitely my spirit animal song for that song right there. Like, just greatness, period. Who you know been doing it since they was 16 and still doing it well into their 50s.
That's an awesome thing. I never really made, of course, I've made the connection between, you know, You're All I Need and I Need Love by LL Cool J, but I never thought about it being inspired by. You know, I know Method Man has always been a big LL Cool J fan, so I probably should punch myself in the face for that point jumping out of me in this conversation. But they really are. They really are, you know, 2 songs that really capture, you know, alpha male love. You know, he loved me, but he ain't no punk type energy that Method Man is talking about. And that, you know, the video for You're All I Need is still one of the illest to me. That scene where the girl's mom opens the door and Method Man's there with like the one contact lens and the jagged fronts and the half braided hair. And she closes the door, then homegirl opens the door and everything's okay. But I thought that was a great point that came out of that conversation. And LL Cool J's The Force is out right now and is getting incredible reviews. People are really appreciating it. And I think that we are in an environment, fortunately, because we've had so many really well done rap albums this year and in recent years from, you know, artists who are, you know, icons or legacy artists in the game. So perhaps we're turning the corner in terms of our willingness to support artists that we grew up with in our later years in hip hop, because truthfully, we're the first generation to have the opportunity to do so. So I thought that was dope too. Now, here's the second one. This one is Bodak Yellow. Bodak Yellow.
Bodak Yellow, Cardi B.
Love this record, because when I heard it, I was like, oh, ain't that the girl from fucking Love It? Wow, she did that shit. I'm proud of her. And then seeing all her accomplishments after that, I was like, yo, Shorty did that, man. I always root for the underdog, man. It ain't nothing more beautiful than to see somebody from the bottom reach the top the way she did, and valid. That record hard, man. Joey don't like that.
I love, he said Joey doesn't like it. He's going to get to that in a second. But I do love Cardi B's Invasion of Privacy album. It's one of my favorite albums that a woman in rap has ever made. I'm not saying it's the greatest, but I think it's up there. And just the range of perspective that she covers on that project, I really appreciate. I always talk about the things that I love about an artist. You know, definitely MCs, definitely rappers, but just broadly speaking, I love voice and imagination. To me, those are the two most important things. How do you sound while saying something? How do you sound while saying the same thing that's been said throughout the course of human history, but in a brand new way? And Cardi B has a song on that album called Be Careful. Be careful with me. It's not a threat, it's a warning. And it's a relationship song. And it is a call to whoever she is dating her or whoever wants to be with her. And I think it reflects a lot of positions of women, at least I've known in my life. And it's a call to men to say, yo, I promise, be careful with me. It's not a threat, it's a warning. You know what I mean? And it's just the way it comes out. It's one of my favorite songs by her, but it's also one of my favorite songs, just period. I listen to that song on a regular basis. If you haven't checked that album out, Punch Yourself in the Face. It's really great. Now listen to what Joey Badass says.
Nah, listen. This is my disclaimer with Bodak Yellow. First of all, I love Cardi B. I agree with everything that you said. Yeah. But for me, Bodak Yellow is literally a Kodak Black flow. Like it's a Florida.
We get calls. Calls like technicality, flag on the play.
Flow. You know what I'm saying?
So we can do that for hip hop, as you guys know, influences. And she's admitted to talking about the flocking joint.
I know she's admitted to it, but we having a conversation about New York anthems. And while, okay, yes, I think that it definitely was a anthemic record for beyond New York, I think that it just has this DNA of not a New York song. Okay. But let's be real about it. Like, if Kodak Black didn't exist, we would have never got Bodak Yellow. You know what I'm saying? And Kodak Black is a Florida
but not
artist.
every, that's like saying, that's like saying Cats, like, she flipped it to the point it became a #1 record.
So the thing that I find interesting about Joey Badass's perspective is Joey Badass, he is one of, I mean, I think we could say this about a lot of artists, but at the time Joey Badass was coming up, him and Pro Era, they really rapped New York. And even not necessarily just from what they were talking about in their music, not necessarily just from their style and aesthetic, but how they rapped. And they were an interesting counterpart to A$AP Mob, right? A$AP Rocky embraced his inspirations from Houston, from Memphis, from Bone Thugs and Harmony. And this was like the era. That era was one of the first times, to me, that's the beginning of when New York started giving up its sound, started forfeiting its sound. And Joey Badass never did that. Joey Badass never did that, right? He never did that, and A$AP did that. I'm not saying that in a negative way or shots at A$AP, but this is the epitome, the pinnacle, the origin of hip hop, the style, the sound that impacted, influenced everything. And over time, New York has forfeited its trademark when it comes to styles and stylistically. Now, Bodak Yellow, to me, it is a Kodak Black song. It's a fire Kodak Black song. Cardi crushes it, right? In my opinion, she kind of took that song from Kodak Black. And when I say, what I mean by that is, more people know Bodak Yellow than know Kodak's version. Right? More people do. Right? It's just what it is. That was a #1 song. And so when she kicks it, it sounds really New York. Now, I understand where Joey's coming from because I have a feeling Joey doesn't like that. How it doesn't? I have a feeling. I don't know this to be true, but I have a feeling. If I had to guess, if there's an artist, an incredible MC to come out of New York in the past 15 years who might have a problem with New York forfeiting its sound, it's Joey Badass. And we've gone from the ASAP Mob to New York drill. New York drill. And now we got Little Mabu doing New York drill. I mean, that whole thing, right? I don't like none of that, to be honest. I mean, I'm not talking about individual artists or individual songs. I'm talking about New York forfeiting its sound. I don't like that, and I think that's part of the reason why, in my opinion anyway, New York isn't as influential in hip hop. I think certain artists are. I think certain artists through their business endeavors they are. But I don't think the music is as influential as it used to be. And to me, I connect that to New York giving up its sound, which I think is a real tragedy. Now, I don't only want to point the finger at ASAP Mob. There was songs like This Is Why I'm Hot with Mims. I used to hate that song. That song to me was like one of the death blows. Like that when that song came out to me, there was a big discussion about the importance of lyricism at that point in time. Big discussion. You had other regions that were gaining more influence. The South was on a whole nother wave. Ringtone rap is happening at the same time. So social media and the internet are moving to another phase to where you can reach audiences and you can move music without a record store, right? And so without someone buying a CD. Mims had that song, This Is Why I'm Hot. I hated that song. The beat was so hard now. The beat was hard. But the reason I hated that song so much, so much, is because the beginning of the song starts with, This is why I'm hot. I don't have to rap. I can sell a mill while saying nothing on a track. You got a New Yorker taking that ethos and making a big song. To me, that was a red flag. ASAP and ASAP Mob and embracing all the influences I thought was dope because of how artistically they did so. And now we fast forward, I don't know, 10 years later, and I don't know what New York sound is, and I think New York City at this point in time is one of the least influential regions when it comes to music and new music. And every time I see Lil Mabu, it's another visceral, unfortunate reminder of the current state of affairs out of this, the city that created this culture we all love. So that segment stood out to me too. Now I'm gonna get one more. There's one more in here. Again, you guys really should check this out. It's actually really cool. I'll put a link to this in there. They talk about a lot of different songs. And again, this whole thing is about anthems for different cities. I'm not sure if they're going to move on to other cities. I hope they go to other cities. I would love to see this done in multiple regions because this is really cool. But we're going to check out one more.
It gives me chills. Pop Smoke, Dior. I feel like he reignited New York hip hop when he first hit the scene and people were listening. It was just something so special about him and definitely gone too soon. But what do you guys think about Pop Smoke?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think his impact just in the short amount of time was monstrous. Mm-hmm. And I feel like there's no telling how much bigger he would have became had his time not been cut short, you know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, he to me, like, when we're talking about New York drill, which is now like a new genre that we've adapted as a culture, as a region, he is the forebearer for that.
Gone too soon, sad story.
Yeah, definitely gone too soon.
Right, okay. And so, Pop Smoke, man, I was watching that video. Read My Soul did. And he was talking about the next big three. Who's the big three after Drake, Kendrick, J. Cole? And we lost a generation. We really did. It's really unfortunate. XXXTentacion, Young Dolph, Pop Smoke, Juice WRLD. I mean, that's what I think that would have been the next big three, big four, to be honest. And Pop Smoke, and I know I just said a lot of critical things about New York drill. I'm not against New York drill. I just don't think it's influential. I think people still go to the original drill. I don't know. I mean, I know the region has embraced it, and that's what they're doing. I don't know if it's spreading the same way. So I don't want to discredit the artists and the music that they're making. But Pop Smoke's ceiling was so high. He reminded me so much of 50 Cent. So much of 50 Cent. And it was because of the way he was able to weave his trap drill gangsta perspective into crossover songs that made women dance. How you can listen to a track from him and hear pain, anger, violence, vengeance, and celebration. You know what I mean? And just from the technicalities of making a good song, he had a knack for that. He had a effortless ability to make songs people wanted to hear. I mean, I've reviewed that every year. I do the year-end best albums list for Revolt. All right, it's a column I do. I do an annual column on that. And I look back at what I said for Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon from Pop Smoke. And here's what I said about his posthumous project. Pop Smoke's posthumous Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon is a beacon in the culture for the Brooklyn drill sound, representing righteously for a new era of New York rap. Tracks like Make It Rain, For the Night, What You Know About Love, and The Woo are not only certified hits, but wildly addictive. The album is surprisingly cohesive considering the gaggle of producers enlisted, including 808 Mellow, Wonder Girl, Mob Beats, DJ Mustard, Buddha Bless, and a dozen plus more. Maybe it's the way the pain beneath Pop Smoke's tonality and penchant for aggressive hedonism harkens to 50 Cent, or how the overall vibe grooves like a late-night drive soundtrack by Future's Dirty Sprite 2. Either way, Shoot for the Stars, Aims for the Moon is more than just music. It's an entire mood. Pop Smoke's impact will loom large over generations to come. Rest in power. And I think that's what we're seeing. I think there's a lot of artists in the New York drill, Brooklyn drill scene. It's really more New York drill now, that are trying to recapture what Pop Smoke was able to bring together so beautifully. And he really is a true loss, because I have no doubt he would be one of the next quote-unquote big three. He is in that generation. And that sadly, that generation, in my opinion, lost the next 3 or 4 best contenders to carry the next 10 to 15 years. And this isn't to take away from anyone else. I think J.I.D. is a real problem. He's one of my favorite rappers right now. I think what he did on Fuel on Eminem's album is incredible. In my opinion, he kept up with Eminem. I think he really did. And, The Forever Story is one of my favorite albums of the past 3 years. It's a really great narrative about family from a ton of different angles and directions. I love that album. Did a video on it. Check it out if you missed it. But let me know what you think about, these songs that came up in this Billboard collaboration with Tres Generaciones Tequila. I guess that means 3 generations. 3 generations tequila. My name is Justin Hunt. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow @TheCompanyMan on everything. It's all happening.
Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. The mathematical breakdown of this mighty game of rap we in. It's boom bapping. Systematical culture views us radical, it's all happening. Shaking hands and dapping it. Life through the lens of hip-hop, from trip-hop to yes, y'all, you don't stop, you don't stop. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. It's all happening, yes, it's all happening. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. It's all happening, yes, it's all happening.